Good day, class. So today I will be discussing activity number 9. But before that, let me just discuss structured data types and arrays. So if you have noticed in our previous activities, whenever you declare an integer, float, or character, you're just entering a single value for each variable under those data types. Now, in structured data type, which is a collection of variables called components organized in a systematic way so that it's easy to access and refer to them, you are allowed to enter several values collectively. Like, for example, you could enter 10 integers or 1000 character values or a combination. It depends on how you declared your variables. Now, under structured data type, we have the array. An array is a collection of variables of the same data type and organized in sequence. And this is the syntax in declaring arrays. First, you have to declare the data type, then the variable name followed by the index. Okay, so this is an example, integer a index 10. So it means that you are allowed to enter up to 10 values in variable a. Okay, and for example, in this variable with index 10, okay, it starts with a index 0, 1, and so on until a index 9. Okay, and a index 10 is a null. It means that the array will terminate there. Okay, now if you want to initialize the index, this is how to do it. It means that 12 here will be stored to the address of a index 0, and 22 here will be stored in the address of a index 7. And if you're going to print arrays with individual values, this is how to do it. Okay, and if you want to initialize the whole array, okay, this is how we do it. Okay, so of course the data type, the name of the array, and equate it with open and close curly brace, and inside that you separate the values with commas, and do not forget to terminate it with a semicolon. Okay, so it means that this value will be stored in a index 0, 2 in a index 1, and so on. Okay, now how about in reading the values using array? So let's say I want to enter 10 values. What we usually do before is that we scanf 10 times, no? If we want to enter 10 values. Now in arrays, we don't do that anymore. We can still scanf 10 times, but in a shorter way using arrays and a loop. Okay, so after initializing the array here, there's an instruction that says enter 10 integers, and then there's a loop here. So initially I is equal to 0, and it will test if I is less than 10, and this is true. So therefore, it will now read the first value, and that will be stored to list I, which is 0. Okay, and then it will increment, and then therefore I will become, or that will be equal to 1. And this is still true. So therefore, the second value will be stored in the address of list 1, and so on, until this condition will become false. Okay, now if we want to get this, the summation of the 10 values we have entered, this is another way of doing it, which is okay. How about if you have 50 values or 100 values? Don't tell me you're going to use this. This will be very, very long to type. Okay. Or you could just use a shorter code, again, using arrays and a loop. So I initialize sum to 0 first before the loop started. Okay, so using the same variable here, I is equals to 0, while I is less than 10. So if this is false, it will perform this statement. Okay, So 0, let's say the first value is 1, so therefore now sum will become equal to 1. And then it will increment by 1, so therefore I will become 1. And this is still true. So what is the previous value of sum? That is 1. Let's say least 1 holds the value of 2. So therefore that will become 1 plus 2. So the new value of sum is 3, and so on. Okay. Now how about finding the maximum? So let's say we have these variables, and these variables are declared from the start of the program. Okay, so let's say temp is equals to least 0. Okay, and then there's a loop here, I is equals to 0, and then it will test if this is true. So since it is true, it will go to the next step, which is to test if temp is less than least I. So what is temp that is equal to least 0? So is least 0 less than least 0? So this is false, therefore it will not perform this. And we'll just go back here. It means it will increment by 1 and then test again if I is less than 10. So I now is equal to 1 and 1 is less than 10. So this is true. And then it will test is what is the last value of temp? It's still least 0. So is least 0 less than least 1? So this is now true. Therefore, the new value of temp is equal to least 1. And then it will go back and increment until this will become false and so on. Okay, and then eventually it will print the largest value. Okay, so that is finding the maximum. Okay, so if you want to find the minimum value, you just have to change a little something here. Okay, so of course this will not become the largest now. This will become the lowest. Okay, so maybe instead of less than, this will become greater than. Okay. Okay, so I have here an exercise. It says create a program that will allow you to enter 10 numbers and will display the 10 numbers and will also solve the sum of the 10 numbers. So this is the code for that. Okay, so actually I just collated all the codes earlier, and this is the whole program. So this is the reading of the value, the printing of the 10 values, and this is getting the sum of the 10 values. Okay, now let's proceed now to the activity. Okay, so your activity number 9 is entitled arrays. So still using the same rubric for this activity. Okay, now for the objective, students will understand the characteristics and properties of arrays and learn how to use and apply them in C programs. So for the instruction, applying arrays, you have to create a program that will allow you to select from the choices which can recognize both uppercase and lowercase keys. Okay, so A is for average score, B is for the highest score, and C is for the lowest score. And this will allow you to input up to 5 or only 5 scores of a student up to 2 decimal places. So it should be able to accept 5 scores up to 2 decimal places. Then it will display the output that corresponds to your choice. Okay, and there should be an option to run the program again. Okay, so here is the sample output. Now let me just show you the executable file. Okay, so example, if I enter a value that is not found in the choices, there should be an error message. Okay, so if I enter A, for example, it will prompt me to enter the 5 scores of the student. So let's say 5.55, 9, 6, 7, 8.45. Okay, and it will give me the average value. So if I press again, it will go back to the start. It will ask me to enter the letter of my choice. So let's say capital letter B. Okay, so let's say 5, 4, 2.2, 6, 7. Okay, so the highest score is 7. Okay, next, if I try again, let's say letter C, let's say 12.45, 11.2, 9.44, 10, 13. Okay, so the lowest there is 9.44. Okay, so if I want to try again, let's say B. So D is not in the choices, so there's an error message. And if I want to terminate, so just enter N and it will terminate. Okay. Okay, so do not forget to put your students' output in this section. With starting with the flow chart, next is the algorithm, then the codes, and then the screenshot. For the screenshot, please put a screenshot for the invalid, one for the invalid, one for the average, one for the highest, and one for the lowest output. Okay, so each screenshot for those I have mentioned earlier. Okay, and of course, don't forget the reflection, which is not less than 200 words. Okay, so that's all for this video. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to message me in the messenger or in Canvas. So that's all for now, class, and thank you very much.